here to share my story of what happened on the 29th of April 2024 on the early hours. As we saw in the news, things on the ground were heavier than that. At the early morning hours of the 29th of April, there was an incident that essentially washed away half a village. The area was calm. There was no indication, but there were signs that something heavy and something big is about to happen. But unfortunately, due to continued human disregard to life, due to human greed above human life itself, even to a mentality of profits over life, nothing stopped what was about to come. And what came was essentially a flash flood that not only brought about a huge volume of water down a hill that came and washed half a village away, it also came with an entire hillside, huge boulders, huge rocks that came and destroyed a whole village and caused the loss of life. Right now, months later, Mai Mahiu has not recovered. There's still a large section of that land that can't be used. Where houses once stood, farms were there, we had crops, we had trees, we had animals. There's nothing there. There's nothing left. I know of so many relatives, I know so many friends, neighbors, people we used to go to church with, who are no longer there. I mean, you hear it as stories, but I do know of a family where the mother and her 2 children died. I do know of a story where a grandmother and her grandchild died. I do know people who lost his brother, and unfortunately, the other brother has never been found. We still do not know where he is. And that is all because when people say that climate change is real, when people say that there is an effect of what we do not listen. And it's caused an entire area to have scars and wounds that will take a while to heal. There's been no support for these people except to bury their dead and to give them counseling. But where will they situate their lands again? Where these boulders are, you can't remove them. So people have lost their lands. People have lost their livelihoods. If you are farming and you don't have a farm, then you have no way of earning money anymore. People lost lives. If I have no parent, I have no children, who compensates for that? And what we are calling for is a proper rethink of how we mitigate our climate crisis. The countries that are responsible need to be aware that they need to compensate, that they need to remove the funding to fix the damages that they have caused here. Because never again should we allow an entire village to be washed away in the early hours when nobody expects it, and we are sitting down and doing nothing about it. We call for an urgent talk, an urgent discussion, and an urgent climate reparation in order for the people who lost their homes, who lost their livelihoods, and who lost family, friends, and relatives in this calamity to at least have a way to start their normal life again. They have not recovered, and I encourage anyone who wants to see the true effects of what we say is the climate crisis, just go to Mai Mahiu. The area is desolate at the moment. There are graves littered for where there used to be houses, and where there are houses is now just boulders. We should never allow this to happen again. And we call for urgent climate reparations now. I think for us on the front lines, things are very dire, and we do want to see an actual action. I'll give you an example. From the disaster that happened in Mai Mahiu, where through the news reports you saw that there were 50 deaths accounted for. All that was given to the families was 150,000 shillings per death. The 150,000 shillings was to only cater for the funeral costs. You've lost your land, you've lost your house, you've lost your loved one, you've lost your livelihood, but all that's been given back to you is 150,000. How do you rebuild from that? And as much as the government has taken the data to know exactly how many families were affected, how they were affected, and who they lost, still, there is no cover for this disaster for the families going forward. After you've buried your loved one, then what? What do you do? Your house is gone, how do you rebuild? Your cows were swept away and they were killed. How do you get them back? Your crops were all swept away. Where do you restart? You have nothing to start upon. So this climate finance is to enable, or rather to make accountable for the countries that have enabled such a climate crisis to the point we are seeing, something that should have brought life to Mai Mahiu. Rain is a very important thing to residents in Mai Mahiu. Rain represents joy because it's a very dry area. But right now, when you go back to Mai Mahiu, when people see rain, they are terrified because they don't know if the next rainfall will be heavy enough to then go again and fill up the tunnel that ended up causing a dam, and then come and sweep everybody away again, cause more damage to the land, and then you can't even go back to the land that used to be yours. What we want is a way for people to rebuild their lives again. We don't want empty promises that hold nothing for the communities that are affected. We don't want to hear a guessed up number for how much they think should be coming to us. We need them to understand that when the climate crisis reaches a community, when flooding comes and it causes havoc, when people die, people need to restart all over again. And if you're going to restart, then please, 150,000 just to bury our dead. No. We do need better actions than this. So when you go to COP, and when you write about this story, tell them, people in Mai Mahiu, they are still crying. They haven't stopped crying, and they need to see an action now.